Our top stories tonight: the recent threat in America to the exciting victories in Clemson sports, all here on Clemson News Now. Thank you for joining us. I'm Colby Goodwin.
And I'm Rachel Golden, Clemson News Now.
The United States erupted in anger when 3 young Palestinian men joined a walk in Vermont Park when a hostile man approached them. The man opened fire on the young men and left them seriously injured. Federal agents arrested the suspected gunman, a 48-year-old Jason Eaton. The 3 victims sustained injuries, and authorities are investigating the incident to determine if it is a hate crime. The nation also mourns the passing of Rosalind Carter, the wife of former President Jimmy Carter. The two were beautifully married for 77 years. They fell in love as teenagers and tied the knot in 1946. In a statement during her funeral, Jimmy Carter said his Rosalind was his equal partner and that she gave me wise guidance and encouragement when I needed it. As long as she was in the world, I always knew somebody loved and supported me. Moving on to football, this past weekend, former President Donald Trump, along with government officials such as Governor Henry McMaster, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Yvette, Treasurer Curtis Loffitt, U.S. Representative Russell Fry, and U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham all were in attendance at Williams-Brice Stadium as the Clemson Tigers took on the South Carolina Gamecocks. It was the former president's first trip to South Carolina since a campaign visit to Summerville in late September. At halftime on Saturday, Trump walked to the field with McMaster and made no remarks. However, he offered smiles throughout the stadium.
Speaking of sports, Brian, how are the Tigers looking as of late?
Basketball season is back, and the Tigers are off to a red-hot start. On Tuesday night, the Tigers solidified themselves as a threat this year after beating number 23 Alabama 85-77. The Tigers look to remain undefeated with a road matchup versus Pittsburgh Sunday at 2. The Palmetto Bowl trophy is back in its rightful place after Clemson took down South Carolina 16-7 in Columbia last Saturday. Clemson's lone touchdown was a defensive scoop and score by star freshman safety Khalil Barnes. Barnes followed up his touchdown by intercepting a pass from South Carolina's Spencer Rattler in back-to-back plays in less than 30 seconds apart. Kicker Jonathan Whites nailed 3 field goals during the game, ultimately scoring their revenge and knocking the Gamecocks out of bowl eligibility. We all know that feels good. Speaking of bowl games, your Tigers are bowl eligible, but will be without some key players. This past week, both star linebacker Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and cornerback Nate Wiggins announced they will be foregoing their senior seasons and declaring for the upcoming NFL Draft. Trotter and Wiggins are the first among other Clemson starters expected to declare for the draft. Exciting draft news early in this week was followed by shocking transfer portal news on Thursday. Starting wide receiver Bo Collins announced that he will be entering the transfer portal with 1 year of eligibility left. Collins' transfer announcement is accompanied by ones from quarterback Hunter Helms, offensive lineman Mitchell Mays, and tight end Sage Ennis. Thursday's transfer news was followed by announcements from Coach Sweeney that Clemson will be parting ways with offensive line coach Thomas Austin and defensive end coach Lemansky Hall. Many changes are brewing for Clemson football. Now the Clemson sports news that everyone has been waiting for. Really, really exciting. Soccer. The women's team advances to their very first Final Four in Clemson history after defeating Penn State 2-1 last Saturday at historic Riggs. They will be playing Florida State this Friday at 6 p.m. in Cary, North Carolina. The Tigers seek to redeem themselves as they are 0-2 versus the Seminoles this year, including this year's ACC championship. As for the men's team, they will be advancing to the Elite Eight after bringing home a 1-0 win against New Hampshire last Sunday. They will be facing off against future ACC opponent Stanford this Saturday. The matchup is set for 6 p.m. at historic Riggs. It looks like soccer national championship celebrations might be in the future for Tiger fans. Tune in next week for the best Clemson sports news, and as always, go Tigers. Back to you, Rachel.
On Monday morning, Carolina Panthers owner David Tepper fired head coach Frank Reich. Reich's tenure at Carolina ended with an NFL's worst 1-10 record. He also became the first NFL head coach since the 1970 merger to be fired in back-to-back seasons after his dismissal last year from the Indianapolis Colts. Reich was fired after Carolina's offense produced 15 or fewer points for the 5th straight week and for the 7th time in 11 games. After the loss on Sunday to the Tennessee Titans, Frank Reich was heard by many onlookers yelling obscenities and shaking his head as he left the locker room. The Panthers are now 30-63 since Tepper brought the team from Jerry Richardson in 2018. Chris Tabor, the team's special teams coordinator, has taken over as interim head coach for the Panthers. Thanksgiving traditions have been ongoing for centuries. Meanwhile, this annual tradition almost marks a century. Millions of people watched the 97th annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York City. From 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., floats, balloons, and performers marched from the Upper West Side of Manhattan to 34th Street. Some spectators arrived even before 5 a.m. to be able to stand along the street, while others watched from apartment balconies. There were also new floats debuted this year, including Beagle Scout Snoopy, Kung Fu Pandas Po, and Pillsbury Doughboy. We cannot wait to see the next year's parade that has in store for us. With the end of Thanksgiving, Keanu, how's the weather looking as we draw closer to the holidays?
All right, folks, it looks like it's going to be a cold, cold, cold winter this year. You may have already noticed the freezing temperatures as morning frost. The average temperature for November was 61 degrees. The average conditions for December is projected to be 49 degrees and lots of precipitation. A white Christmas is very unlikely, but if conditions are right, a white Christmas may still be in the books for Clemson. This weekend we'll have highs in the lower 60s. Expect rain for Friday night through Sunday morning. After the weekend, rain showers temperatures will drop with highs in the mid to upper 60s and lows just skating above freezing temperatures. Stay bundled up and dry. Tigers, back to you, Rachel.
For our final story this week, Clemson wins. The results of the 39th Blood Bowl are here, and Clemson records a astounding victory against rivals USC. Clemson Tigers can be proud as they donated nearly twice the amount of blood as USC, with the Tigers totaling over 4,000 donations. The tradition of competition between the two universities helps thousands of people in the state of South Carolina. We look forward to next year's Blood Bowl and the positive impact it will bring to both communities. Congratulations, Tigers!
This concludes another episode. To think we only have one more episode next week remaining for the fall semester is crazy. This semester has really flown by. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Colby Goodwin.
And I'm Rachel Golden, Clemson News Now.